Hello, my name is Dr. Becky Kashmiri. Feel free to call me Dr. Becky. So let's review a few things here about your spine and nervous system. So we're going to go over this chart right here on the spine and the nervous system. So what controls everything in your body? Your brain, exactly. And Ben, how do all the organ cells and tissues work?
By electrical signals sent down through your nervous system?
Exactly, very good. So to make it simple, right, because I can tell you're a little bit, smart in that way. So your brain sends messages through the spinal cord out to all your organ cells and tissues, and it makes everything work, even your muscles. So when we look at the spine and the nervous system, and we see that it looks like this, there's 24 movable segments. And in between the vertebrae, do you remember what these are called?
Discs.
Discs, very good. So when you go out of alignment and your spine pinches on the spinal nerves, do you remember what that condition's called?
Subluxation.
Very good, high five. Yes, subluxation. So when you have a subluxation, it obstructs the nerve flow by 60% in your nervous system. We can only feel 10% of these subluxations. So if you have obstruction of 60% of your ability to turn and bend, and you have decreased function of your organ cells and tissues, what happens to you?
You ache a lot.
Well, you could. You can only feel 10% though, right? Yeah. So over time, what will happen to these organ cells and tissues?
They'll deteriorate.
Yeah, but you could ache too, right? So it shuts it down by 60% and it causes decreased function in the organ cells and tissues. And as more time goes on and we don't get our spine checked, what happens to these organ cells and tissues?
They don't work properly.
And exactly. And then what happens?
They die out.
They die out. We start getting diseases. So what happens to us when our organs start dying out or not working right? We go to the doctor, we find something's wrong, what do they give us?
Medicine.
Medicine.
Yeah.
So does medicine fix the problem? What does medicine do?
Relieves pain and the symptoms of the actual problem.
That's right. It relieves the symptoms. So are symptoms good or bad to have?
Good.
They're good. If we didn't have symptoms, what would happen?
You couldn't tell what was going on.
We couldn't tell what was going on, right? So if we're taking a pill or a potion and we're numbing out that process and we're fooling ourselves into thinking we're better, what happens to our health in the long haul? Yeah, it decreases, exactly. So there's 3 types of stresses that cause subluxation in our spine. Does anyone know what one might be?
Actual physical damage.
Physical stress, exactly. So you have physical stress. That could be a car accident, your posture, falling. The first subluxation, how do you think we get it? Let me give you a hint.
Birth.
Childbirth.
The birth, exactly. Because we are the only animals on the face of the planet that give birth on our backs. You don't see a cow or a dog laying on their back spitting up a pup, do you? No. So they go in there and now they have to pull and twist on the head and twist it up to 180 pounds of pressure. 180 degrees, and 80 pounds of pressure can be pulled on the baby's head. And then Stanford studies show by the time that we're 5 years old, we've had 200 major falls. That will cause this condition called subluxation. Now, so we understand physical stress, most of us, and then what's this one right here?
Mental stress.
Mental stress. Who does not have that? That's around 80% of sickness and disease in this country, is our mental, emotional stress. And what does that do to our posture, our body language when we're stressed out like that? Yeah. And that causes subluxations in our spine. And then if we don't have mental, emotional stress, climate, we can have foods that aren't good. We can have medications we take that's called chemical stress. We can have it in cleaning supplies, we can have it in shampoos and makeup we put on ourselves. So 3 stresses, physical, mental, emotional, and chemical. And what will happen to our ability to turn and bend when that happens?
Decrease.
It decreases. So when we look at how to find out if you have subluxation, we look at your x-rays. So if we took a cross section of this spine and we looked at it here, you should look like this. This is normal discs, bones, spinal cord, and nerves. When you get this condition called subluxation and it pinches it, in around 10 years you go into phase 1 of degenerative joint disease, which is also known as arthritis. If we leave subluxation with the joint not moving, after 20 years, what do we start to see?
Less nuclear fluid.
Yeah, and what's happened? What are those little jagged edges there?
The bone.
Right, calcification.
Yeah, very good. They're calcified bone spurs. Your body is saying, well, you're not moving me. Let's fuse together. And what will happen to the discs when that process is going on? It crushes it and it causes a bulge or a herniation or a disc condition, right? And then after around 30 years, how do we see the spine and nervous system looking?
Fused.
Fused. Beef jerky as a disc, skinny dead dying nerve, and how do you think that the organ at the end of that nerve is? Say it's your heart. How do you think that's working now?
It's choked out.
It's choked out, it's not getting the right innervation, right? We're not breathing as well anymore, getting oxygen in, right? So it causes this disease process in our body. If we never brushed our teeth, how would that be at this age coming to a dentist?
Full of cavities.
Yeah. And we don't really feel a cavity, do we? They say, oh, you got a cavity, and you go, oh, darn, okay. And then they fill it with mercury, and that causes more problems. So let's take a look at how your spine should look. We're gonna look at your neck curve, and we're gonna look at subluxation on an x-ray over time, causing this degenerative process. Let's take a look. That's a 45-degree neck curve. This is phase 1 of degenerative joint disease, a decreased cervical spine. This is called a military neck, and we're looking to see all the discs equal. They call this a reverse cervical curve or text neck now. How are the discs looking now? Are they all still equal? That's phase 2, this one right here. And now how do the discs look?
Fused.
Yeah, that's phase 3.